try something a little daring here. I'm scaling down a recipe that we used in a restaurant that I worked in. And the recipe takes 51 3/4 pounds of flour and 31 pounds of water. And we're gonna try to do this for this amount of yeast. This is gonna make rolls that are really good, really good in a wood fire brick oven if you happen to have that. Otherwise, we'll put the pizza stone in this oven. So with 1 package of yeast, I'm putting 3/4 cup of cold water. This amount of water is flexible. I'm just guessing here. I'm gonna do maybe a teaspoon of sugar. And the reason you want sugar is to help the yeast grow. And that's gonna start to happen pretty quickly. And I'm gonna put a tablespoon or so of soybean oil, which is usually what vegetable oil is. We're also gonna put some salt in there, but we're not gonna do that yet because it kills the yeast. I'm guessing at the flour, and you're gonna have to do the same. If you have a stand mixer with a dough hook, definitely do that. Otherwise, you're doing this. All right, now I'm gonna do the salt. I'm gonna do about a 1/2 teaspoon. Kind of a heaping 1/2 teaspoon. And I'm gonna need more dough.
You mean flour?
Flour. Coming together pretty nicely. You want a pretty stiff dough for this because these rolls are dense. And then it's still a little bit sticky, but that's okay. Funny, even though that water was cold, this feels warm. I'm not really wanting to get the gluten going here. I just want it to be totally mixed. So I'm gonna get this stuff off my hands and then we're gonna start fresh. All right, this is a bench knife. What we want is about 2 ounces of dough for a roll. So I'm gonna take a little bit off of that. And then you want to tuck it around underneath itself. And I really don't want it very sticky, so I'm just going to keep adding flour as I do this. And I'm just pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, which is making kind of a stretched net. And then I'm going to put it in a greased pan, the pinch side down. All right, now these are going to go straight into the refrigerator, and we will come back tonight or tomorrow or even the next day and do the next step. All right, now we're going to get the rolls out. It's only been 4 or 5 hours, which I would say is the minimum for these, but they're going to go well with our pasta dinner tonight. So they've risen a little bit, but not too much, which is just what we want. I'm going to take this board, and if you don't have a board, you can use the back of a cookie sheet, especially if you have a cookie sheet that doesn't have sides on it. And you can even use parchment paper. And this is cornmeal that I'm putting on here, and what the cornmeal does is it adds some nice flavor when it cooks, but it also makes it so that these things will slide. I've got my pizza stone in the oven, and you could use a baking sheet if you need to, but the pizza stone makes it very nice. And it's been heating in there while I baked something else. And I'm going to put a little cornmeal on the top. So that's the sliding action we need to get them onto the pizza stone. So I have to move the rack out of the way.
Excuse us, buddy.
Pizza stone should be at the bottom of the oven. I've got it at about 375, so it's not picky. It's just got to be about a medium oven. And I just slid it onto the stone. And I have no memory of how long these take, so we're gonna check them after 10 or 12 minutes. All right, it's been more like 15 minutes. So I think the oven could be 375 or even 400 if you wanted it to go faster. And what we're looking for now is that they're just a little bit brown, which they are. And they have a little bit of brown on the bottom. So there they are. And in a few minutes we'll open them up and put butter on them. Do they smell good?
They smell delicious.
They do smell good. So there's the inside. It's a pretty dense crumb, in part because there's more yeast than in a pizza dough, and we didn't let it rise a lot. So that's part of the dense, chewy texture that makes it taste so good. So we have a couple minutes till those rolls are done. And while they've been in there, we've been making a topping for our pasta that has panko. I've got some capers that I fried with a smushed up anchovy. There's some lemon zest and parsley in there, some salt and pepper, and it's going to go on a pasta that has basil and burst tomatoes. So I've got more anchovies than I know what to do with. So we're going to see whether the cat likes anchovies. Come here, bud. Of course he does. They're fish.